Is there any good that can come out of exhaustion and emptiness? Yes. Are you ready for some good news? When we feel tired and empty, Jesus often gives us new vision. The marvelous Lucan story of the miraculous catch of fish on the Galilean lake begins with frustrated fishermen who have nothing to show for a whole night's work. Empty boats and empty nets can also lead to empty bank accounts, can't they? They were skilled fishermen who had trolled the waters of the Sea of Galilee their whole lives. Who knows why they caught no fish despite trying all night? They used the same tackle they always used, the same nets. They applied the same savvy they always did, but they were tired and empty. Global pandemic has brought a lot of emptiness. Empty restaurants, retail stores, empty non-essential businesses. But some nimble businesses have redirected their energies, like Boathouse Sports, a Philadelphia-based sports apparel company that switched gears and started making protective equipment for hospitals. Landed a contract for, I think, 100,000 masks for one company. You know, when Steve Jobs returned to Apple in 1997, the company was starting to sink. Sales had shrunk 36% in just 2 years, so Jobs started pruning. They got rid of 70% of their products, like the Apple digital camera and the laser printers and all that. And it left this emptiness that became the breeding ground of innovation. And before long, they invented the iPhone that's changed the world. Global pandemic has not spared the church. We have empty pews. In the early days of sheltering in place, I had a hard time seeing past the empty church buildings. It felt like Peter's empty boat, designed for fishing, but just sitting there idle. However, like most churches, we pivoted quickly. We began focusing on the power and quality of our online worship experiences. From the outset, we began reaching far more people in our virtual worship than we ever saw in our physical gatherings. We have several thousand people who call our church home, but last week's worship service was viewed by nearly 100,000 households. Who knows what God may bring from this global crisis? As restrictions ease, people are beginning to meet and gather in small groups in their home to worship together, like in the book of Acts. I can envision a global spiritual awakening as people gather from home to home as they did when the Church of Jesus Christ was first born. If you have an empty boat or an empty dream, maybe Jesus is going to repurpose it for His glory and for the good of the world. He works miracles out of empty things, and that's the gospel. Well, that's today's good news. You can get more like it by clicking right here, or better yet, be sure and subscribe, tell others about it, and start out every day with good news.